If you're relocating to Salem, Oregon, here are 5 things that you should know before you move here. Salem is not the right place for everyone, and that's okay. But if you're on the fence about moving here, this video might just push you over the edge and make you decide that Salem is not the right place for you. My name is Clarity Odd, and I'm an active real estate agent who focuses on helping buyers relocate to Oregon. If you are ready to start planning your Oregon relocation, book a one-on-one consultation with me before all of my slots fill up. You can do that by going down to the description below or scanning this QR code here. All right, let's jump right in. The first reason why Salem might not be the right place for you is because of the cost of living. Now, I know firsthand that when you are relocating, the cost of living is going to be a huge consideration. When I relocated to Salem about 6 years ago, the cost of living in Salem was significantly less than the city of Portland, which was where I was relocating from. At the time that this video was filmed, the median home sales price in Salem hovered around $440,000. And when we compare that to a place like Portland, the median home sales price up there is at $556,000. It is easy to see why so many people favor the affordability of Salem versus Portland. For the price of $440,000, you can typically find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that might be slightly outdated or needs some level of updating, just depending on what section of town you're looking in. On the surface, it can seem like this is a huge win for buyers who are looking for more bang for your buck. But you need to keep in mind that property taxes in Salem can still hit hard depending on where exactly you're relocating from. Property taxes are going to be about 1% here in Salem, and after you purchase your house here in Salem, the tax assessor with the county is going to go out to your property and give you a new assessed value. Based on that new assessed value, that is what your property taxes will be based upon. Here in Oregon, we do not have sales tax, which means that all goods and services you purchase, what you see on that sticker is exactly what you're going to pay. Do be mindful that we have income tax, so depending on the level of income that you make, you will be taxed accordingly. My expertise is not in income tax, so definitely talk to a CPA about this point. According to bestplaces.net, the overall cost of living in Salem is 104 points total. Any score higher than 100 is going to be more expensive than the national average. And then any score lower than 100 on this list is going to be less expensive than the national average. So Salem is slightly more expensive overall when you compare it to the national average cost of living in the US. But let's talk a little bit more in depth about the cost of living. The cost of groceries in Salem is ranked at 100.3, which means it is just slightly more expensive than the national average. For healthcare, we score at 92.8, which is actually less than the national average, which means that we have cheaper healthcare than other places in the US. Now, if we go down to housing, we can see that on this chart, we score at 121.5, which is almost 22 points higher than the national average. And we absolutely see this in the cost of housing here at Salem. It is expensive compared to a lot of other places across the US when you are home buying here. And this chart actually has the median home sales cost in Salem at $399,000, but that is not accurate because the most up-to-date numbers has the median home sales price here in Salem at $444,000. Utilities are almost 22 points lower than what you can expect from the national average, which is great. It means that your utility bill here is likely going to be less than wherever you are coming from. A lot of this is going to be very dependent on your lifestyle and whether you work from home and how efficient or new/old your house is. Is Salem the most expensive place to move into in Oregon? No. Is it cheap? No. It's all going to be relative and based upon where exactly you're relocating from. But I can tell you that most of my clients relocating to Salem say that it is slightly more expensive than where they are coming from. The 2 exceptions to this is if I have clients coming from Washington, especially in the Seattle area, or California, where the price of living and cost of real estate is just bonkers. If you are wanting a quieter lifestyle and you want a relatively cheaper city to purchase a home in here in Oregon that is not Portland, yes, Salem is going to be the cheaper option, but there are going to be some important trade-offs, mainly that Salem is a smaller city and we have smaller city vibes. We don't have that big hustle and bustle of a big city, but if you are okay giving up some of those super convenient amenities of a larger city, you are going to be just fine line here in Salem. If $440,000 still feels like a lot of money for you to spend to purchase a new house, then Salem might not be the right fit for you, and I would recommend checking out some other areas around Oregon that might be cheaper. The other consideration you need to keep in mind when you are relocating to any place in Oregon is the fact that you need to have employment lined up before you can actually get a mortgage to purchase a house here. If you don't already have a job lined up with your current employer or a new employer, a lender is not readily going to give you a mortgage. Yes, there are exceptions to this, but that's why having a conversation with a mortgage broker/lender is incredibly important. And if you're saying to yourself that you don't know a lender here in Oregon, well, don't worry. After we chat on our one-on-one consultation, I will connect you with my trusted go-to local lender so you can start having these conversations. Reason number 2 why you might not want to move to Salem, Oregon is because of the vibes. The overall vibe of Salem is very chill, especially when you compare it to a bigger city like Portland, Seattle, or even LA. You are going to notice that there is a slower pace of life here. The streets are far less crowded. You're likely going to bump into familiar faces at your favorite coffee shop and your favorite restaurant, and there's just a really strong sense of community in Salem. This can be really refreshing based upon what exactly you are looking for, but overall, if you are wanting a slower pace of life and you don't want those big city vibes, you're kind of over it, then Salem is going to be a really great fit for you. But if the quieter atmosphere of a smaller town feels very unsettling for you, you do not want to relocate to Salem then, because you're probably going to feel a little bit weird with how quiet things are here. Let's talk about the social scene and the nightlife in Salem, or rather the lack thereof. If you're expecting a really vibrant nightlife filled with clubs, live music venues, and great bars, you might be incredibly disappointed with what Salem has to offer. Now, don't get me wrong, Salem does have some great local restaurants and cozy bars, but don't expect the same selection of dining and entertainment options that you would find in a bigger city like Portland. The events that we have here throughout the year and the festivals and the community gatherings, they are on such a smaller scale, which can feel a little bit limited if you are used to larger communal social gatherings. If you are looking for late night excitement or trendy new hot spots, you're gonna have to plan a trip to Portland to get those needs met. But the good news is that Portland is only about 45 minutes to the north, so it is still very accessible. And I found that with a lot of my clients who are relocating into Salem, it kind of feels like a double-edged sword for most of them. On the one hand, you might really enjoy the quieter lifestyle and the more relaxed evenings at home, but then on the flip side, if you are somebody who thrives on activity, the lack of entertainment options here in Salem can feel really frustrating. And at the end of the day, you might just find yourself in Portland more than you expected. But ultimately, the vibe of Salem really caters to those who want that laid-back lifestyle and slower pace. If you like the charm of locals farmers markets and strolling through the parks with your doggy, then yeah, you're probably gonna love Salem. The next reason why you might not like Salem is because we don't have very good shopping or that great of amenities. Salem does have a very charming and cute historic downtown, but it has its limitations. And if you're somebody who is used to going to a big mall that's filled with your favorite shops, or you just love a good restoration hardware adventure, a Crate & Barrel, a Williams-Sonoma, or even a Nordstrom's, we don't have that here in Salem, and you're gonna have to go up to Portland to get those needs met. And I mean, we do have stores like Macy's in downtown Salem, but that's, I'm pretty sure, about to shut down because who goes to Macy's anymore? We do have a Nordstrom's rack, but it's kind of shitty when you compare it to the Portland Nordstrom's rack. But don't worry, friends, because we do have multiple Targets. But the overall shopping is incredibly limited to those big box stores, and you are likely going to be traveling into Portland to get those big mall vibes or just those really quirky boutiques. The downtown area here in Salem does have local boutiques and thrift stores with little knickknack shops and stuff like that, but I just don't feel like the stores are amazing or that they can meet all of your needs. But then again, I might be a little bit biased here because I did come from Portland, which has like all of these crazy shops on every single corner. I don't want to drag on Salem too much, but I do feel like the overall shopping experience could improve significantly here in Salem. The dining options in Salem are kind of similar to the shopping experience. And honestly, I don't really feel like the dining experiences here in Salem are very good. There are local restaurants that serve a variety of different kinds of foods, but I've only found a handful of restaurants in Salem that I end up going back to time and time again. And even some of my favorite places, I feel like they're going downhill in serving smaller portions, and their services just are not what they used to be. And overall, the experience of going to a fun restaurant with a really good meal, great drinks, that feels like it's getting harder to find here in Salem. And I personally go up to Portland with my husband for date night more often than not because we always walk away having a really good dining experience, really great cocktails, and we just love getting those little vibes of Portland for an evening. So if you're expecting Salem to have like a culinary plethora, just like its sister city of Portland, you're gonna be really, really disappointed. And I say all of this to simply say that if you are relocating from a well-equipped urban environment and city, the trade-offs here in Salem will be a big challenge for you if you are not prepared. You are seriously going to need to consider whether the charm of a small town is going to be enough to outweigh the conveniences of having everything at your fingertips when you live in a city. If you are somebody who thrives on variety and spontaneity, the limitations of Salem's shopping and dining and entertainment scenes might just be a deal breaker for you. The next reason why you might not want to relocate to Salem after all is because of the weather. When people think of Oregon, they most oftentimes think of this really beautiful lush green landscape, rolling hills, and mild temperatures. But the reality is the weather here in Salem is a little bit different than what you're probably imagining. We definitely have some really beautiful sunny days, but you do need to prepare yourself for a good dose of rain, especially in the fall and the winter months, because we have a lot of days that are just overcast, and the bulk of our annual rainfall is going to be concentrated from October to April. Overall, you need to expect about 8-ish months of rain and gray skies. So if you're coming from a sunnier region, this weather shift might take a serious toll on your mental health. The winters are generally more mild compared to some harsher climates, and the temperatures don't often fall below freezing point, but that doesn't mean that winter months are all sunshine and flowers here. Actually, you're not going to see either of those things in the winter time. You are going to be facing weeks of drizzly gray weather that can feel incredibly dreary after so long. So if you're somebody who needs those sunny days, again, this is going to be a huge challenge for you. If you love being outdoors and you prefer more mild adventures like going on a walk and calling it a hike like I do, you are going to find that Salem is the perfect jumping off point for being outdoors and going on a lot of mild adventures. At the end of the day, the rain here in Salem is tough to avoid. You either got to get out of Dodge for vacation or you just need to put up with the rain. It does offer a very different and unique kind of beauty that most people grow to love. The next reason why you might not want to relocate to Salem is because it is a car-dependent city. For me personally, this was a huge adjustment because I came from living in downtown Portland where I had all of my needs met within walking distance, or I would just jump on the trolley in the downtown area or the bus and get anywhere around the city. Unlike a lot of major urban centers, Salem does not have a very robust public transportation network. It's limited. And yes, we do have buses available, but they don't run frequently enough or cover as many areas as you might expect. And I know for my clients who are not used to having a car dependent lifestyle, this is definitely something that takes a bit of time to adjust to. And the reality of life in Salem is that most neighborhoods aren't very walkable, which can feel incredibly restrictive. But if that's something you're used to, then no big deal. You can definitely enjoy, walking on the sidewalk in your neighborhood in Salem, but because so many neighborhoods are spread out and the roads are pretty busy and big in these neighborhoods, you really don't have many opportunities to do things like walk to your favorite grocery store or restaurants. So do be prepared that you're going to be in your car more often than not here in Salem. It is going to take you about 20 minutes to get anywhere in Salem by car, but depending on which neighborhood you actually purchase a house in, the commute time can extend. When I lived in Northeast Salem when I first relocated here, it took me about 20 to 25 minutes to get everywhere. But if there was traffic or congestion or a train just decided to stop moving in the middle of the street, then I would have to add anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes onto my commute time. After I moved to South Salem, all of my immediate needs were just 10 minutes or less away. But I would say that still takes me about 20 minutes to get most places across town. In the neighborhood that I live in, I can walk to my favorite grocery store, I can walk to my favorite cafes, but it is going to take a little bit of coordination. And this is because my neighborhood is surrounded by busy roads, so you kind of have to weave in and out of the nice residential streets. Walkability is high on your list of needs when you relocate here. There are going to be better neighborhoods that are more conducive to a car-free lifestyle. We can certainly discuss this at our one-on-one consultation. So overall, if you are looking for a car-free lifestyle, Salem might not be the right place for you. So there you have it, friends, your top 5 reasons why you might not actually want to relocate to Salem, Oregon after all. But if after all of this, you're like, oh my God, Salem sounds great, wonderful. Book that one-on-one consultation with me so we can start planning your Oregon relocation. If you enjoyed this video, you're gonna wanna watch this one next. Bye, friends.